Hi everyone, this is story about the man who turned piano into motorcycle. In 1950, a young man in his late 30s inherited a company on the brink of collapse, a musical instrument maker in provincial Japan, its factories still scarred by wartime bombing, its finances in ruins, its workers uncertain if there would even be a company left to work for. Nothing about this company suggested it would one day build some of the most iconic motorcycles, pianos, and even boats in the world. But the man who took charge of it that year had a habit of looking at broken things and seeing possibility. His name was Genichi Kawakami, and this is the story of how a piano maker's son built one of the most diversified brands on earth, Yamaha. Act 1. Born into Sound. Genichi Kawakami was born on January 30th, 1912, in Hamamatsu, Japan, into a family already deeply connected to the company that would define his life. His father, Keiichi Kawakami, was the second president of Nippon Gaki, the company founded decades earlier by Torakusu Yamaha, originally as a maker of reed organs and pianos. Growing up, Genichi was surrounded by the sound of instruments being built, tuned, and tested, and by the rhythms of a family business that had already survived earthquakes, economic depressions, and constant competition. Unlike Henry Ford, who fought against his family's expectations, Genichi Kawakami grew up largely inside the world he would eventually lead. He studied at Keio University, one of Japan's most respected institutions, and by his mid-20s was already working inside Nippon Gaki, learning the business from the ground up under his father's watch. But the Japan he was coming of age in was hurtling toward catastrophe. By the early 1940s, the country was fully absorbed into World War II, and Nippon Gaki, like most Japanese manufacturers, was converted to support the war effort, its precision woodworking and metalworking capabilities redirected toward producing propellers and other military components instead of pianos. When the war ended in 1945, Japan lay in ruins. Cities had been firebombed, infrastructure destroyed, and the economy was in a state of near-total collapse. Nippon Gaki's factories had suffered heavy damage, its instrument-making operations gutted, its workforce scattered and demoralized. In 1950, at just 38 years old, Genichi Kawakami became president of the company his family had led for 2 generations, inheriting not a thriving instrument maker, but something closer to an industrial ruin. Act 2. A company with nothing to sell. Kawakami's first challenge was almost existential. Post-war Japan had little appetite or money for pianos. The country was focused on basic survival, food, shelter, rebuilding. Musical instruments were a luxury nobody could afford, and Nippon Gaki's core business, the thing it had done for 60 years, was suddenly nearly worthless in the market it served. But Kawakami had inherited something valuable that had nothing to do with music: precision metalworking equipment and skilled machinists, left over from the company's wartime production of aircraft parts. Idle factory floors, unused lathes, and a workforce trained in precision engineering sat waiting for a new purpose. Kawakami began touring the factories personally, walking the floors, talking to workers, studying what capabilities the company actually had versus what it had traditionally made. It was an unusually hands-on approach for a company president in that era, but it revealed something important. Nippon Gaki wasn't just a piano company. It was a precision manufacturing company that happened to make pianos. Kawakami became convinced that Japan's post-war future belonged to personal transportation. The country desperately needed affordable ways for ordinary people to get around, as its road and rail infrastructure lay damaged and public transit was overwhelmed. Motorcycles, in particular, seemed like the right answer. Cheap to produce relative to cars, simple enough for the country's rebuilding industrial base to manufacture, and exactly what a nation trying to get back on its feet actually needed. In 1954, Kawakami made his boldest move yet. He personally traveled to Europe to study motorcycle manufacturing, examining German designs in particular, including motorcycles from DKW, to understand engineering approaches Japan hadn't yet mastered. He returned with detailed knowledge and a clear vision, and set his engineering team to work designing Nippon Gaki's first motorcycle from near scratch, rather than simply copying an existing design outright. Act 3. The YA1 and the birth of a motorcycle company. In February 1955, the result of that effort was unveiled. The Yamaha YA1, a 125cc single-cylinder motorcycle finished in a distinctive maroon color that quickly earned it the nickname Akatombo, or Red Dragonfly. It was lightweight, reliable, and, crucially, well-engineered for a first attempt, a testament to the precision manufacturing skill the company had carried over from its instrument-making and wartime production. That same year, Kawakami made a decision that formally separated the motorcycle business from the parent piano company, creating Yamaha Motor Co., Ltd., as an independent entity named after the company's founder Torakusu Yamaha, whose tuning fork emblem would become one of the most recognizable logos in the automotive world. Kawakami became its first president, running it alongside his continued leadership of Nippon Gaki's instrument business. Almost immediately, Kawakami used the same publicity strategy that had worked for automobile pioneers before him: racing. In 1955, the YA1 competed in Japan's major motorcycle races, including the Mount Fuji Ascent Race and the third Asama Highland Race, and won its class in both. For a brand new motorcycle from a company known for pianos, these victories were stunning, and they gave Yamaha Motor instant credibility in a market crowded with more established manufacturers, like Honda, which had been building motorcycles for years already. Kawakami understood something crucial that shaped Yamaha's identity from its earliest days. Racing wasn't just marketing, it was research. Every race exposed weaknesses in the engineering that could then be fixed and improved for consumer models. This philosophy, compete first, refine constantly, let performance on the track inform performance on the road, became embedded in Yamaha Motor's DNA and remains part of the company's racing culture to this day. Act 4. Diversification as philosophy. What made Genichi Kawakami genuinely unusual among industrial leaders of his era wasn't just that he successfully pivoted a piano company into motorcycles. It was that he refused to stop there. Kawakami developed a broader business philosophy, that Nippon Gaki's real core competency wasn't instruments or vehicles specifically, but precision engineering, woodworking, and metal fabrication that could be applied across many different products. Through the following decades, under Kawakami's continued leadership, the company expanded into an extraordinary range of products that, on paper, seemed to have almost nothing in common. Archery equipment, applying precision fiberglass and composite techniques. Boats and marine engines, leveraging engine technology from the motorcycle division, and even swimming pools, tennis rackets, and furniture, all built using variations of the company's woodworking and materials expertise. This diversification could easily have become chaotic or diluted, a company losing its identity by chasing too many markets at once. Instead, Kawakami managed it as a coherent strategy, always returning to the same underlying question: what does this company already know how to build with excellence, and where else can that excellence be applied? The tuning fork logo that once represented only pianos and organs came to represent an entire ecosystem of precision-engineered products, from concert grand pianos to championship-winning racing motorcycles. Meanwhile, Kawakami never abandoned the instrument business that had defined his family for generations. In fact, one of his most significant and lasting contributions to global culture had nothing to do with engines at all. In 1954, the same year he traveled to Europe studying motorcycles, Kawakami also founded the Yamaha Music School and later the broader Yamaha Music Foundation, built around a belief that musical talent could be developed in almost any child through early, playful, group-based music education rather than being treated as a rare inborn gift. This approach, introducing young children to music through singing, movement, and ensemble playing before formal instrument technique, became hugely influential and was exported to countries around the world, shaping how generations of children were introduced to music entirely outside of Japan. Act 5. Leadership Style and Philosophy. Kawakami's approach to leadership was notable for the era. Rather than ruling from a distant executive office, he was known for walking factory floors, personally testing prototypes, and pushing engineers to challenge assumptions rather than simply refine existing designs. He placed enormous value on what might be called applied craftsmanship, the idea that mastery of materials and precision, whether in a piano soundboard or a motorcycle frame, was the company's true and transferable asset. He was also willing to make unpopular, even risky decisions when he believed the long-term strategy was sound. Spinning off Yamaha Motor as a separate company in 1955, entering an industry Nippon Gaki had zero prior experience in, was a significant gamble at a time when the company was still recovering financially from the war. Competing directly against established motorcycle makers, rather than starting in a smaller, less contested market, added even more risk. But Kawakami's belief that Japan's post-war recovery demanded affordable personal transportation, combined with his conviction that the company's underlying engineering talent could compete anywhere, proved correct. Act 6. Legacy. Genichi Kawakami led Nippon Gaki, and, for a period, Yamaha Motor as well, for roughly 3 decades, stepping down from the presidency of Nippon Gaki in 1977. Under his leadership, a company that in 1950 was a war-damaged piano maker with an uncertain future had transformed into a global industrial group spanning musical instruments, motorcycles, marine products, sporting goods, and electronics, a diversification model that remains a case study in strategic corporate expansion. Yamaha Motor Company, the division Kawakami personally founded, would go on to become one of the largest motorcycle manufacturers in the world, a dominant force in motorcycle racing through its participation in MotoGP and other global championships, and a major player in marine engines, personal watercraft, and even robotics and industrial automation in later decades, all traceable back to a piano company president who decided, in the ashes of post-war Japan, that his engineers could build more than instruments. Genichi Kawakami passed away on May 25, 2002, at the age of 90. By then, the tuning fork emblem he had helped extend far beyond its musical origins was recognized on nearly every continent, attached to products as different as a concert piano in a symphony hall and a racing motorcycle screaming around a track at 200 miles per hour. Closing reflection. Genichi Kawakami's story doesn't follow the classic rags-to-riches arc of a founder building something from nothing. He inherited a company and, in many ways, inherited a crisis along with it. What set him apart wasn't the invention of some singular breakthrough product, but a rarer kind of vision, the ability to look at a devastated piano factory and see not an ending, but a foundation. He understood that a company's true identity isn't the specific product on its label, but the skill and precision behind whatever it chooses to build next. From a war-damaged instrument maker to one of the most diversified engineering brands in the world, Yamaha's journey traces back to one man's refusal to accept that a piano company could only ever make pianos. He built the red Dragonfly, sent it out to win races against companies with a decade's head start, and in doing so, taught an entire industry that reinvention isn't a departure from your identity. Sometimes, it's the fullest expression of it.